Hello, everybody. It's me, Mr. Greer. Man, I gotta tell you, I had so much of this video finished, and something went wrong. I lost all my information, so I'm gonna have to start over again. But the good news is you don't have to hear me ramble because now I know exactly what I'm gonna say, so I can say it a little bit quicker. So the first things first. Um, this page 106. Page 106 gives you common, fraction, decimal, and percent. So it pretty much shows you some of the most common stuff and what the transitions will be from fraction, decimal, percent, decimal, fraction, decimal, percent. All right, I wrote this stuff down, and when I looked at it, I'm like, there is no way all of you are going to know, uh, what rows goes with what. So to make your life easier, go to page 184 and they'll give you the answers to all of this. And you can fill it in your own special way so that you can, get some of these very easy transitions or common transitions. This will help you out Wednesday or Thursday, with some of the work we're going to be doing. Because right now we're about to start finding the percents of a number, but eventually they're going to say we're going to be finding like um, this number is what percent of that number. You'll understand all that on Wednesday and Thursday, but today we're focusing on finding the percent of a number. So I want to explain a couple of things to you. First of all, and a lot of this is on page 107, by the way, and that's what we're going to be working on, page 107. A lot of this stuff tells you multiple methods of doing something, method one, method two. And they give you two methods saying that, method two is going to be a little faster to work than method one. Method one is one step, step two, step three. Step one, step two, step three. Whereas method two is step one, step two. But I am going to focus on method one because method one will work 100% of the time. So that's what I'm going to show you method one. I'm not going to worry about method two. All right, method one will work for every problem, every time. The same can be said when we get to the back here, where they have examples 2 and examples 3. I'm going to show you how to work the problem using example 3, where there's a step 1, 2, 3, 4, really. But I'm going to do it in a different way that I know works for me, has worked for me for decades. Wow, I'm so old, I can say decades. But it's worked for me for decades, and I'll show you a specific way to work on those problems. Because the difference is now we've got that fraction in our percent, right? And remember how you work when you have fractions in a percentage. Remember how that works? We're going to start doing that as well. Math builds on top of itself, always, always, always. There are a couple of things that we're going to skip for the sake of time, 1 and 2, because I do not find it helpful. Page 109. Come on, camera. Well, yeah, there we go. Page 109. It's talking about using shortcuts. Bad word. Bad word. You are learning a new skill. Trying to cram shortcuts down your throat when we've got 3 weeks, 2 weeks left or 2.5 weeks left is not something I intend on doing to you guys. Also, this estimating percentages. In the real world, will this help? Yes. In the GED, will this help? No. So we're going to kind of skip this piece here because, again, not a whole lot of time to cover a good chunk. And I don't want to confuse you because percentages are already confusing. I don't want to make it any more confusing. Are we going to be using our skills to find word problems? Yes, we will. And these word problems are going to be everyday problems. During a period of 30 work days, Deborah was late 80% of the time. How many days was she late? We're going to be solving problems like that, okay? Definitely tonight when we have our 6 o'clock online meeting. But without further ado, let's work through Finding a percent of a number. Please hold the applause, please. It's embarrassing me. All right, so remember when I said I worked through some stuff and lost some information? Here are two problems I worked through already. And I'll talk you through these two problems, and then I have plenty more to work through for you, with you. Don't worry. This is on page 107, and we're going to be doing rows 1, 2, 5. And then on the next page, 108, we'll do 6, 7, and 8. All right? So 107, here's row 1, the very first one. It was 5% of 120. Now, in math speak, of means multiply. Of means multiply, right? So step 1 when you're doing these problems is you want to turn this percent into a decimal by moving the decimal over 2 spaces. 1, 2. And so then your new thing is going to be 5/100 of means times 120. And I rewrote it so that I could actually do the multiplication. 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. And then we count how many decimal spaces was moved to the left, and we do it to the answer. 1, 2. The answer is 6. So 5% of 120 is 6. The next one was 7% of 965. Step 1 is to turn the percent to a decimal by moving the decimal over 2 spaces to the left. 1, 2. So my new problem is 7/100 or 0.07 of means times 965. I rewrote the decimal under here so I could do the multiplication. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 6 is 42, plus 3, 45. 7 times 9 is 63. 63 plus 4 equals 67. And then I count how many decimal spaces were moved in the problem, and that's how many I move it for the answer. So my answer is 67 55/100, or 67.55, whichever works for you best. All right. Now you can see me work a problem from the beginning. Woot woot. All right, so we have 10% of 780. Step 1, turn the percent into a decimal by moving a decimal point over 2 spaces to the left. Okay. That becomes 0.1, or 1/10 of means times 780. I'm going to rewrite it so that I can work the problem. I'm going to put a 0 in front of the decimal here. The book seems to do it. It kind of doesn't really matter, but this is probably the best way to write a decimal, is to put the 0 in front of it. All right, so I'm going to do that here. Okay, so 780 times 1. Well, 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 7 is 7. Then I count how many decimals, how many spaces the decimal's been moved in the problem. Once in the problem, so we're going to move it once in the answer. My answer is 78. 10% of 780 is 78. All right, let's keep it rolling. 20% of 36. Step 1, I hope you already know, is to turn this percent into a decimal by moving the decimal over 2 spaces to the left. And so our problem is 2/10. Math speak, of means times, and then 36. Okay? And then I'm going to rewrite it so that I can work the problem. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 72. Count how many decimal spaces have been moved in the problem, just one, and we move it that many times in the answer. So our answer is 7 2/10. 7 2/10. All right, are we starting to see how this works yet? We got 15% of 50. Step 1, turn this percent into a decimal. So we're going to move the decimal over 2 spaces to the left. And so now we have 15 hundredths times 50. I'm going to rewrite the problem so I can work it. Five times 0 is 0. 5 times 5 is 25. Then we're going to move over 1. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 5 is 5. Now we got to add them together, right? So the 0 plus nothing is 0. 5 plus 0 is 5. 5 plus 2 is 7. Now, let's count how many decimal spaces have been moved in the problem. Looks like 1, 2. So we move it that same amount of spaces in the answer. 1, 2. Your answer is 7 5/10. 15% of 50 is 7.5. Let's keep the party going. Here we have 40% of 60. I'm hoping you're able to work on this on your own a little bit. Hopefully you're looking at it and saying, step 1, I need to move that decimal. I need to turn that percent into a decimal by moving the decimal over 2 spaces to the left. My new problem is 4/10 times 60. Hopefully you were able to do this before I even did it. I'm hoping you know what the next step is too. I'm going to rewrite this so that I can do the problem. Or for some of you cheeky monkeys out there, you might use your calculator and just type in 0.4 times 60 to get that answer. I wonder who's doing what out there in YouTube land. All right, 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 6 is 24. Don't need to do anything with this because it's all going to be 0, right? If you do something with that 0, it's all going to be 0, 0, 0, 0. So we can stop right there. How many times has the decimal been moved in the problem? Looks like just once, so we move it just once in the answer. Your answer is 24. 40% of 60 is 24. Let's check out row 5 now. Row 5. So row 5, the numbers getting a little bit bigger in row 5. But you know my saying, no matter how big the numbers are, the steps stay the same. So we're looking at this 2 6/10% of 390. What's the first step? To turn this percent into a decimal by moving the decimal over 2 spaces to the left. Now this time the decimal is right here, so we're still going to move it 2 spaces to the left. 1, 2. And you know what to do when there's a blank there. You fill it in with a 0. My new problem is 26 thousandths times 390. See that setup? We move the decimal over 2 spaces to the left. There was a little blank space, so we filled in with a 0. And there we go. 2.6% becomes 26 thousandths. of, and it means times, and then 390. I'm going to rewrite it so that I can work the problem. Okay, that's pretty bad handwriting there, but you'll see what I'm doing. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 9 is 54. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 plus 5. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That's a horrible looking 3. But it's a 23, I promise you. All right. Double checking one thing, make sure I'm doing okay. Yep. All righty. Now we're going to move over, right, to the next number. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And we don't need to do anything with the rest of this because they're all zeros. So the answers would be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, right? Let's do our addition. 0 plus nothing is 0. 4 plus 0 is 4. 3 plus 8, 8, 9, 10 is 11. And then 7 plus 2 is 9. Plus 1 is 10. Whew. Now we're going to move our decimal. So let's count how many spaces the decimal's been moved in the problem. It looks like 1, 2, 3 in the problem. So we're going to do that in the answer. 1, 2, 3. So our answer is 10 and 14 hundredths. 2.6% of 390 is 10 and 14 hundredths. Okay. All righty, let's move over here. Hopefully you're seeing what's different about these problems as compared to the other ones. It's because the decimal is not in the rear, it's right here, so we got to move it over, right? So step 1, turn the percent to a decimal. We're going to move that decimal over 2 spaces. 1, 2. There's a blank there. I'm going to fill in with a 0. My new problem is 8 thousandths times 56. Now I'm going to rewrite the problem so I can work it. Make sure I get my zeros right. Okay. There we go. So, 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 5 is 40. Plus 4 is 44. And then the rest of these are all zeros, so we don't need to do anything with that. So we're good. Now, how many spaces has the decimal been moved in the problem? 1, 2, 3. So we move it that many times in the answer. 1, 2, 3. Your answer is 448 thousandths. And let's do the last one in row 5. I'm going to give you some time to work this out. Let me give you some time to remember what is the first step in a problem like this. What do you do first? I hope you said you turn this percent into a decimal. How do you turn the percent into a decimal? Hopefully you said by moving this decimal 2 spaces to the left. 1, 2. What do we do with that blank? Fill it in with a 0. So what's my new problem going to look like? Hopefully this is what the new problem looks like to y'all. Just not this blurry. There we go. Okay. 18 thousandths times 753. What's the next thing I'm going to do? I'm going to rewrite the problem so I can work it. All right, let's get to work. Let us get to work. I'll give you some time. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 5 is 40. Plus 2 is 42. 8 times 7 is 56. 56 plus 4 is 60. I'm going to move over 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 7 is 7. And I'm going to do my addition. 4 plus nothing is 4. 2 plus 3 is 5. 0 plus 5 is 5. 6 plus 7 is 13. Now we're going to move, and then we're going to count how many spaces has the decimal moved in the problem, and that's 1, 2, 3. We'll move it that same amount of time in the answer. 1, 2, 3. And here's your answer, 13 and 554 thousandths. So that's how you do these original kinds of problems, right? It's whole number, they're just regular decimals, right? I mean, they're regular percentages, there's no fraction in there, okay? So you start off, step 1, turn the percent into a decimal by moving the decimal 2 spaces to the left. After that, you go ahead and translate the rest of your problem. Of means times, bring down your regular number. You rewrite the problem so that you can actually work the problem. And then you get your answer. That's how you do these regular ones, okay? So there's another kind of problem that takes a lot more steps. And I'm going to show you the way I do these problems because it's going to be the easiest way to do it. And it's also 100% of the time going to be correct. Okay? I do apologize, this video is a little bit long. Okay, so here we go. In here, you've got a fraction in your problem. We need to turn this percent into a decimal. The first step to doing that is like we've done before, turning percents like these into decimals. We're going to rewrite the problem. 33 and 1/3 over 100. Because we have to get rid of that percent sign, don't we? And now we have. Now we can now we can write it so that we can start doing some work. 33 and 1/3 divided by 100. And we'll put that 100 over 1, right? Remember that so far? We go from here to here, and then from here to here. If you think you're good enough to go from here to here, be my guest. Just make sure that you can do that 100% of the time. Our next step is we can't do much with this because it's a mixed number. We need to turn that mixed number into an improper fraction. Okay? So 3 times 33 will get you 99, right? 99 plus 1 is 100. So your new math problem is 100 over 3 divided by 100 over 1. Now, when you're seeing this, hopefully you're thinking keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep the 100 over 3, change the division sign into multiplication, and flip the 100 over 1 into 1 over 100. Now I hope you're thinking, where can I reduce? Where can I cross reduce? Right? Where, oh where can I cross reduce? Hopefully you notice it's the 200s. And so now our fraction is 1/3. The answer for this is 1/3. Whew. But we're not done yet, right? All we've done so far is turn this percent into a decimal, or basically we've turned it into a fraction, which is 1/3. Now we can get to work. Now we're going to translate, remember? So we're going to take this number, and I'm going to draw an arrow back up to here. We're going to take this number that we have now turned into this, and I'm going to translate. So 1/3 of 75. What's it equal? Well, let's turn that 75 into a fraction by putting it over 100. Putting it over 1, I mean. Now we can work. 3 goes into 3. We can do some cross-reducing. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 75 25 times. So our answer is 25. So we started with this. We needed to turn this, we needed to get rid of that percentage, right? So you turn it here. And then that ends up looking like this. And I think I can start going from here to here with you all. I think you'll understand that just fine, right? From there, we need to turn our mixed number into an improper fraction. And that gets you this. Then you think to yourself, KCF, keep, change, flip. When you see that division sign into fractions, think KCF. And then from there, we'll do our keep, change, flip, do our cross reducing to get our fraction we can work with now. Now that we have the fraction we can work with, we can plug it in to our translation, right? So 1/3. It was 33 1/3, but now, after getting rid of the percent sign, it's 1/3. 1/3 of times 75. Put the 75 over 1, so now you're multiplying a fraction times a fraction. Cross reduce, and get you your answer. All right, let's try this next one here. The 12.5% of 96. So the first thing is we need to get rid of this percent sign. And I'm going to just do a quick, let me actually draw a line here so it doesn't get confusing. All right, so I'm going to do the shortcut here. Not a shortcut, but I'm just going to cut out this piece because I don't think we need this piece. I think you guys know how to go from here to here, right? So it's going to be 12.5 divided by 100 over 1. Because ultimately that's what you're doing. To get rid of the percent sign, you're going from here to here. And then we need to turn this mixed number into an improper fraction. 2 times 12 is 24. 24 plus 1 is 25. That gives you 25 divided by 100 over 1. Now we think to ourselves, KCF, keep change flip, 25 over 2 times 1 over 100. Look for where we can cross reduce. Well, 25 goes into 25 once, 25 goes into 100 4 times. So our answer is going to be 1 over 8. So we have turned this into this. Now we're going to translate, right? Plug that in. So our new problem is 1 over 8 times 96. That's a horrible looking 96. And since we have a fraction, we're going to put 96 over 1. Now we can get to work. So from here, I would say usually you can reduce when you do these kinds of problems. And use your handy dandy calculator, multiplication table, whatever. So let's see, can 8 go into 96? 96 divided by 8 equals 12. I used a calculator to do that. So 8 goes into 8 one time, 8 goes into 96 12 times. My answer is 12 over 1, which leaves me with just 12. Okay. So we started all the way up here. We turn this percent into this number, 1/8. And then we plugged 1/8 in, so 1/8 of 96 equals, right? We cross-reduced, and we got our answer 12. All right. Let's take a look at this one here. 16 2/3% of 84. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this percent sign, right? So you remember how to do that. We can either do it this way, right? And then go to this way. Or go straight from here to here. Either